Alrighty, so we are recording, and I'm going to say a quick prayer. We're going to get started.
Mm.
All right, whew. Heavenly Father, we just center ourselves for this moment. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this partnership, and we know that because of you, it will be very good. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we
Mhm.
know that it's going to be meaningful to the ears and the hearts that it touches. So we ask right now that you're with me, that you're with Jamie, and that you allow us to just rise and have an amazing time. We give you the honor and glory. In your name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Awesome.
Christian, real quick,
Yes,
Jame.
absolutely. Jame, I'm so sorry.
Girl, it's fine.
Jame Jackson.
It literally
That
had
would have been real bad.
no. Look, I'm happy you prayed.
Come on. Come on,
See,
Father.
right when God said He'll availeth much, He availed our name. So, girl, it is no problem at all.
Jame. Got it. Awesome. That is great. I love it. Okay. The Blonde Misfit.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right. Hello, risers, and welcome to season 2 of the Rising with Christian podcast. I hope that your 2022 is off to an amazing start. If it's anything like my life, it's been very busy and whoo, it's been a jam packed year, and it's just getting started. But nonetheless, I want all of my sisters to just be inspired by someone who inspires me. Her name is Jame Jackson. Welcome, Jame.
Hey, y'all.
Awesome. So, if you do not know Jame, for whatever reason, I'm going to school you all just a little bit on what she does. So, she is the founder of the Blonde Misfit. If you have never seen the blog and all the videos and the inspiration, I encourage you to go to her website. She is an award winning fashion and beauty brand that amplifies Black and Brown voices and stories. She is a beauty activist. I never heard that word, beauty activist. Culture commentator and media personality. She has been featured all over Buzzfeed, Yahoo, CNN, Stylecasters, Teen Vogue, and so much more. So I am just super excited to talk about beauty and fashion and entrepreneurship. So welcome again, Jame, to the show.
Man, thank you so much for having me. I am so blessed and honored. My pastor used to always tell me, people don't have to be nice. And if they are nice, they don't have to be nice to you. And I have always centered that
Wow.
around gratitude when people like you extend opportunities to people like me. You know, this is your platform, but today we're sharing it, for everyone out there. So I'm just excited to be here.
Yay, I'm excited too. So, of course, the Blonde Misfit, the first question that I think about is how did you come up with that name? Like, what was the inception of the Blonde Misfit?
Yeah. So, quick backstory. I was finishing up my last year at Howard University. Shout out to any
Mhm.
HU grads out there.
Thank you.
And you already know.
Mhm.
And I realized I wanted to get into fashion journalism, but I had not interned in the really fancy, glossy places in New York. And it's really one of those industries that focuses on elitism. You get these $10
Mhm.
internships, you get kids interning throughout their whole college years with the hopes that when they graduate, they will get an entry level position. And that wasn't my scenario. I didn't have the money for that. So I decided to start my own blog. And I figured what I would do is just talk about what's happening in the world of fashion from the lens of me, someone on the outside looking in. I've always felt like a misfit, an outsider in this world. I've always
Mhm.
felt different. And these were things that in my life I didn't think were good, right? These were things that I
Mhm.
carried on my shoulders in a heavy way. But as I got older, and even now, I see these are all assets. These are things that have set me apart from others. These are things that God has divinely called me to do, outside of my peers. And so
Mhm.
when I was thinking about the blog name, I was typing in, Google, how do you name a blog? How do you name a blog? And they were like, do an adjective that describes you and then a noun that describes you. That's why you get all these blogs that are like pretty or pretty cupcakes and stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll do something misfit. And then I was like, well, what word would go in the middle? And I have been blonde since the 10th grade and all my different iterations of my hair since then. And so I said, well, being blonde is really a big part of my identity. So I was like, so let me just do it. And I was like, the Blonde Misfit. And it's so funny because everyone nowadays says they love that name, but the first few years, look, it was not hitting at all. People were just like, what is that? What is that?
Really?
Yeah, no. But that story even goes to show sometimes they hate you, sometimes they love you, but all you got to do is just ride the wave and your time will come. So
wow. Wow. And that's amazing because sometimes people aren't willing to step out or to do something because they don't fit in or it's not catchy enough.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing to know that even when you were a misfit, you launched a blog and people weren't necessarily rocking with it, but you did it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And it was one of those things that I was writing for the 3 people who would read my blog the same way that I write for 3 million people today. I was practicing things that you didn't associate with bloggers. A lot of people, they saw bloggers at that time, people who were messy, people who were going for, drama, people who want to talk about celebrity gossip. And there's no shade at all to those websites and those things. But I wanted to show people that bloggers can be journalists. We can be reporters. We can craft a story. And so, whereas a lot of other bloggers were sharing, here's my cute sweater that I picked up at Macy's, I was sharing, what does my blackness do for the fashion industry and how can we continue to amplify that? This was long before it got popular to talk about Black in fashion. And even though the numbers were not coming in at the time that I wanted, I wasn't going around saying, oh, my blog is so big. What it did do is teach me about discipline. It taught me about consistency. It taught me about showing up. And ultimately, what I was able to do is take those stories and those bylines that I created for myself and pitch myself to eventually write for other publications or get in the doors of places like Buzzfeed or Yahoo. So I always look at it that, never think too small of your dream or your goal. I never thought the Blonde Misfit was going to be what it is today. That wasn't even my goal when I set out, but just start and be consistent and everything else just follows into place.
Wow. It's great to be able to be comfortable in your skin. And I know that we live in a society where fitting in is something that is desired, but how did you wake up one day and say, hey, I don't fit in. I'm not trying to fit in. This is who I am. Like, where did this courage and strength come from?
Yeah, I think being an only child meant that I always had to advocate for myself, right? My mom would always tell me, you don't have a brother or sister who's going to look out for you. So you need to learn how to defend yourself. You need to learn how to show up. You need to open your mouth. All right, come on, Black mamas out there. They don't like, like okay, right. She's like, well, if you ain't say something, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I did not get comfortable and confident in myself until I got older. And really, when I say older, I would say maybe mid-20s. And what happened was I moved to New York, right? So I packed up all my things when I was 23, moved to New York, didn't know anyone other than the people I went to school with. My boyfriend at the time packed up his car, and whatever we could fit in his car, that's what I took with me to New York. I slept on someone's grandmother's couch for a few months until I found my first place and just sort of hustled and made my way from there. At some point, the accolades came. And at some point, I realized it wasn't healing the broken part within me. And when that happened, I then had to sit with that. And once I was able to address it head on, then I was able to feel fulfillment that I was complete all by myself, if that makes sense.
What was that moment like? Did you feel like you were being robotic in your content? Did you feel like you were being inauthentic? Were you just transitioning as a person? What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, I think I was doing the same thing that a lot of content creators do, right? We're chasing the likes, we're chasing the approval. And I don't ever look down on people who do that, because we all want to feel valued, right? We all want to feel like whatever we're putting out into the world, people see it, they recognize it. And for me, I had always lived under this guise that, oh, I'm just this little blogger. I'm just this. I'm no one important. Well, okay. Now you're getting into Buzzfeed, and now you're creating posts that are going viral in minutes. You're getting posts that are generating 2 and 3, 4 million page views at a time, right? And it's like, okay, all right, now people know my name. And then you're going over to Yahoo, and the same thing with the live stream. And I remember, I will never forget, in 2019, I wrote the story for The Business of Fashion, which is a huge fashion business publication. And I wrote a story on why Black beauty editors work twice as hard as their white counterparts. And the story went viral because there wasn't a lot of discussion about Blackness at that time, and especially in the beauty industry, on a main publication like that. And I remember seeing my byline, and everyone was like, oh my God, Jame, so great, so great, so great. And nothing in me had changed. I still felt like, oh, but like, what's the next thing I'm going to do? How do I top this? How do I do that? I couldn't even sit in my own pride and joy of achieving this huge milestone that only a few years prior would have been like, go girl, go. And that was when I sit myself down, because I was like, you're literally checking off all of the things you've ever wanted in life, and it's still not enough. So now what are you going to do? And at that point, that's when I had to really have a sit down and come in a Jesus moment, honestly. And I was just like, you know what, God, I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm chasing man's validation instead of seeking just yours. And I had to reposition myself. So now it's wonderful when people say, Jame, you're doing great work, or Jame, you're walking in purpose, or Jame, I love the blog, or I love your podcast. I love when people say that. But guess what? Even if no one ever said it ever again, as long as God is proud, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And when you really get that in your spirit, there is a level of peace. I don't have to chase trends. I don't have to chase validation. I don't have to try to figure out how am I going to top my next thing. It'll happen. But what it requires is a lot of alone time. It requires solitary time with yourself, really. And I think a lot of people are afraid to do that, but that's what we all need.
Yeah, I was just at a conference, and someone was saying how sometimes you have to get pushed out of your nest. So whether it's your nest of comfort, whether it's your nest of accolades, whether it's your nest of not believing and dreaming big enough, whatever that nest is. And so you had to fly in a different way. What shifted after this aha moment? Like, did your content change? Did your connections change? Or was it just all internal?
Everything changed. Everything changed. I would say, first of all, I started to attract better people into my life. The people who I was attracting before were people who were also chasing accolades, who were also chasing publicity, or everything for clout, everything for the gram, everything for this, everything for that. And it was causing me anxiety, because I would just there were days I just wanted to be off. You know, I don't always want to be on. But when you're surrounded by other people and that's their metric of success, they're always going to be chasing a moving target. I also started to attract people who really were more invested in my health and mental space and mental awareness, versus people who were just like work, grind, hustle. You know, this culture that we get caught up in.
Oh yeah.
So even just the people who I attract changed. And then even the opportunities changed. You know, my content started to focus more even on lifestyle. You know, the Blonde Misfit nowadays, we talk a lot about what it's like to be an entrepreneur, what it's like to be a content creator. Because one of the things I realized is, Jame, you're trying to present this cookie cutter version of yourself, you know, this glamorized version. And sure, it's great to be aspirational, but we also want to be realistic. At the end of the day, if I'm out here trying to empower Black and brown women to succeed in these industries, I have to keep it real with y'all. I have to tell y'all that I was turned down for, you know, this position, even though I was qualified. So I took my blog and I made it my own thing. I got to tell you guys that I have a 9 to 5. And when I clock out at 5 o'clock, I give myself 10 minutes. And then I work on the Blonde Misfit from 6 to 3 in the morning. I have to keep it real. you know,
Wow.
because if not, I do myself and each one of my misfits an injustice. It's a disservice to just be like, oh, look at my pretty little life with this and that. Like, that's not reality. And so I would just say doing releasing my own personal shackles of perfectionism allowed me to just start getting more real and meeting people where they're at. And the turnaround for that is fun. Of course, you lose people, but I always look at it like pruning like a flower. It's like pruning the dead leaves. The flower will grow. Don't be worried about those dead leaves. Don't worry about them split ends that you just cut off at the beauty salon. Like, you know, like we get so worried. We want to hold on to length. Chop that thing off. Like, you will grow better and healthier.
Oh, that's good.
You know, so that's
good. Now I need to go to the salon and get my ends clipped. I love this journey of beauty and the flaws within it, or the days where you aren't as confident, or, you know, because I think sometimes people may see you and say, wow, she has this blog that is like amazing. She's going viral, millions of views. You know, I'm scrolling through Yahoo and I see your videos and I'm like, I know her. But then there's this transparency that you don't see with influencers or on social media. But what I'm hearing is that there is this growth in beauty.
Yeah.
There's this growth in beauty.
There's a lot. And, you know, sometimes I sit and I think about everything I have sacrificed to get here. And we never talk about those things, right? We talk about when we get the new job. We talk about when we get the new opportunity, when we make this connection. What we don't talk about is how many birthday parties we missed out on. We don't talk about times where I've paid my internet bill and my lights went off for a few days because I only had a certain amount of money because I was working a job making less than $40,000 a year. While everyone thought I was winning on the gram, I was working terrible jobs in media up until I finally was able to pivot, and then I was able to start doing better. But like, people don't talk about those things. I had one dress that when I moved to New York, this was the one dress I would wear to all of my networking events. It was a really nice dress from like Ann Taylor. And I would scrub the dress by hand, Christian, to make sure that like armpit stains and anything like that were out, because I didn't even have enough money for dry cleaning. Like, these are the things people don't talk about. Still showing up, still looking good, still looking, you know, bomb, still gonna stunt. And it's one of those things, you know, because we was gonna do that anyway. But now,
period.
You know, right? But like, people don't know these things. And I started thinking, I was like, this is why I say we're doing such a disservice to people when we say, oh, it just happened. It just done. No. And I also tell people all the time, I know what it is like to be put together before a man, because I know what it's like to be broken before God. There have been so many times in my life that I have just picked up the broken pieces and just asked God, put it back together again. And him doing that over and over and over again, first of all, shows me my own strength and resilience. But it also shows to me I don't have to show up whole. You see me as a whole person showing up. I see an entity of a whole bunch of broken pieces just joined back together. And so there's a difference in how I even see that. So there's a lot of uncomfortability, even in beauty. There's a lot of discomfort in showing up, but you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to show up because you owe it to your audience.
And Rises, as she's talking, I'm thinking about a quote that one of my seminarian friends told me, and you all have probably seen it a million times, but broken crayons still color. And so whether it's your nose, whether it's my big forehead, whether it's your hips, your tummy, like, no one is perfect. We're all works in progress. And when you realize that you can still show up in your brokenness, you can still impact lives. Like, that is so empowering.
I love it. Sure. And Christian, when you said that, I also thought about how many women we we start to say, God, you can't do anything with this.
Mm.
You say, God, I was a teenage mom. God, I was in a bad relationship. God, I didn't finish school. God, I don't have the money. God, I don't this.
Mm-hmm.
He knew
Mm-hmm.
all that. When he put you
Wow.
down here, he already knew all your steps. Remember, he already predestined. He already knew
Yes.
the positions and
Already.
the things that you were going to go through. And yet he still called you. None of those things impact purpose.
Come on.
I always say temporary pain never impacted my purpose. A pandemic doesn't impact my purpose. The only thing that can impact my purpose is what I choose to do, even in the face of adversity. So that's why every day I'm going to still get up. I'm going to still show up. God, I know it hurts, but I can still do this. God, I know I don't know a way out of this, but I know I don't have to know. I just need to answer the call and just show up. You know, we start thinking of all these other things. God didn't ask us for any of that. All he said was for you to say yes and to go, and he would lead us. And so I think to myself all the time, I don't have to have it figured out. And God, I actually thank you for the broken pieces, because when I get to show up for other women, they get to see themselves reflected in me. They get to see, oh, she cleaned up real nice. But guess what? We know she's been through some things. And because she's been through it and she's come out, if you're saying that this little girl who came from these environments, you know, and saw drug and alcohol abuse as a child, go up and now be like a media personality in New York and doing all these things, God, surely you can do something for me. And at the end of the day, that's just my testimony for other people, you know? So,
wow. I'm ready to rise. And I love how you talked about, you know, working, taking a 10-minute break. Now I would have pushed for 30, but that's how you wired. You grind and you get it. And that's a problem too, because I lack energy, but you know your purpose so well that you putting in the work. So you have this 10-minute break. What content were you trying to put out until 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? Like, what was the message that you were trying to convey in your blogs?
Yeah. So the blog really focuses a lot on just like the everyday filings of a misfit. So everything talking about fashion content and what we're seeing in the industry. You know, we were covering posts like when Andre Leon Talley, you know, may he rest in peace, a wonderful fashion legend, when he came out with the chiffon trenches, you know, his autobiography, us dissecting, well, what does this look like when you show up in these spaces and you're the only one? What does it look like when you have this power now as a prominent Black figure in fashion and you use it? Do you use it to put others on? Do you use it to open the door? Do you use it to hold people accountable? Those are the kind of conversations. Nowadays, the content focuses a lot around entrepreneurship. So one of the things I realized was that my community wanted to know, well, how do I even start a blog? How do I start a business? Wait, do I go LLC or S Corp? And it's funny because I never thought I would be the person in a position to talk about these things. But the reality is I have just learned a lot of things through trial and error. And so now this is information that I get to share with you guys while also still talking about the latest trends in fashion or for beauty. You know, I like to tell people a lot about like my skincare routine or like products that I'm loving, because the reality is, as someone who was a beauty editor for a number of years, I have seen it all and tried it all and done it all. The reality is, I know a lot of people, they don't want to just go up into Sephora and drop $300 on something. So it's like, let me do the work for you. So I would say my content is a nice mixture of educational material, informative material, but then also just feel good and light content. Because if we're, you know, there's enough going on in this world now. We don't need to be bombarded with more heavy things and stuff like that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I love how you talked about that one dress you had. And I think that there's this stigma of having to buy a new outfit for every Instagram picture or every event, 4th of July, you know, Christmas, Thanksgiving. What does balling on a budget look like? Like, is it thrifting? Is it just working what you already have? Like, how does one ball on a budget?
Well, look, I'm always going to tell people to thrift. I love thrifting, and thrifting actually solidified my love for fashion. I've been thrifting since high school, and I just think it's so fun. And first of all, it trains your eye, right? Because and a lot of times when you're thrifting, or secondhand, like vintage shopping, you can't necessarily see the garment for what it is, but you see it for what it can be. Maybe it needs a new zipper. Maybe it needs a cut at the hemline. Maybe you need to do a little alteration here or there. And I love it because it really flexes that creative muscle. So I always say try thrifting, and especially go for your basics and stuff like that. You don't need to spend a whole bunch of money on that. What I would say is, find a few good investment pieces. Now, I'm someone who really believes if you're going to, I have a cost per wear formula in my head. So, yes. So the amount of money that you're going to spend on an item, think over the next 6 months, how many times you realistically are going to wear the item. And then whatever that number is, divide it by how much the item costs. If you see that number is still really high, then you either need to find more ways to wear it or you don't need it. And I like to use that. And I love that formula because here's the thing. I own a pair of boots and they are expensive. I ain't going to tell y'all how expensive they are.
Mind your business.
right. I'm like, look, I ain't in y'all business up in your Kool-Aid. Okay. No, they're expensive, but I wear them almost every day. So immediately I know my cost per wear is low. The number is low, and therefore I'm getting my use out of it. Similarly, I can go out here to Zara or H&M and buy a $30 top. And if I only wear it one time and it stays in the back of my closet, you might break higher, cost per wear for that than you might for the boots. And so I always like to tell people that it's about getting the usage out of your closet. And I like that because sometimes you will want to make investment pieces. You will want to put some things that are higher end or whatever. And that's okay. But make sure that if you get it, you wear it. All right. Like I used to be that person too. Like I have designer clothes and a lot of my clothes I wasn't wearing. I was like, I don't want to get them dirty. And my boyfriend was like, so why did you buy it? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, it's art. It was beautiful. Like, but you have to wear your clothes. So definitely starting there is
that really is good. How do you rework the clothes? Because for me, or this Instagram stigma, if you wear something one time, you don't want to repost it. So do you like post in one outfit, then you wear it several times outside? How does that, what's the formula there?
Yeah. So usually, unless it's like a really simple uniform, like, black jacket, white top, jeans, I always try to find a different way to wear something. Pinterest is a great way to do this. I just go into Pinterest and literally will type white tee plus black girls. And literally it will just come up all of the different ways black girls are wearing it. Like literally, y'all, if you didn't know that hack, make sure you put black in your Pinterest algorithm stuff. It works.
Okay.
But like I'll usually look for inspo for there. But also, Christian, I'm going to keep it real. I tell people, unless you about to buy me something else, mind your business.
Okay.
You won't see this jacket 5 times. Yes, you certainly will. But be like, Jame, didn't you just wear this? Yes, I certainly did.
Sure did. Yesterday, in fact.
Hello.
I
Woke
like
up
that.
this morning with it on my mind. I certainly did. Like, please, like people, like y'all not gonna bully people into not wearing their clothes,
right.
But I understand there's a lot of people who are just like, oh no, we can't do that. Like, no, I am all for you utilizing your closet. And I would just say, just trying different pairings. And so, for instance, if you have a really cool, like, let's say a really cool trench coat, maybe one outfit is you doing like a full, like mod inspired, like long sleeve turtleneck, long, pants, a really sexy heel. But then maybe the next time you wear it, you're wearing it with a mini dress and maybe, heels that strap up or thigh high boots. It's just small things like that, unless someone is really, really, really up on your gram, which at that point you might need to talk to them.
That's too much.
Yeah. Like, why are you so close? Back up. Like, other than that, there's so many ways for you to breathe new life into your outfits.
Now you were just listing the strappy heel and the this and the that. You were speaking a different language to me because I don't have style. Believe it or not, that is not my ministry.
You have on red nails and a red lip. I don't believe it.
And all black. I could do that.
See,
but okay, I'll give you something more practical. So I went to the mall yesterday, and I'm trying to find clothes, and I'm like, where do I start? And I know I'm not the only one. So for anyone listening that don't know what their style is, or they want to shop and they want to, do something different in their wardrobe, where can they start? Where does the inspiration start?
Oh, yes. So this is another reason why I think you can utilize social media for good. What I like to do is I like to literally start with, oh, I really love how this celebrity just wore this, and then typing it in on Pinterest or even on Instagram, taking screenshots, creating mood boards. I know it feels like a lot of work, but it's not, and I'll tell you why. Let's say, for instance, I dress more corporate. I wear a lot of neutrals. I tend to stick to a very simple silhouette. But now I want to start adding color. And more specifically, maybe I want to start dressing a little bit more like bohemian, artsy. That's my vibe. So maybe I saw something that Solange wore, right? So Solange, now you have that picture of Solange. You see, okay, she had this jacket on and it had some feathers on it. So now when you go to Macy's or Nordstrom, maybe you want to start incorporating something with a little bit of feathers. It's not about directly replicating the image, but what it's about is like finding inspiration from whatever the person wore. And what you do is the more you do it and the more images you have, that will sort of help guide you as far as like finding the similarities. And so for people who say, I don't even know what my style is, think about your top 4 or 5 favorite outfits that you've worn. I guarantee you, if you put all of them next to each other, there is a common theme in there somewhere. Whether it is you love, like an A-line skirt, like one that goes out like that. Or maybe you love denim. Maybe your favorite thing is denim. Maybe you love like a slouchy sort of lived-in look, or maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you love button-ups and you're more like a corporate structure. When you know those things, it makes shopping for yourself so much easier, because now when you go into the store, you can immediately identify what is for you and what's not. And so I always like to start there. And then also, check out what the fast fashion girls are doing. I know a lot of people have issues with that. Personally, I like to lean into sustainability, but I do think that they serve as major inspiration. The H&Ms, the Zaras, the Forever 21s, the misguided, pretty little things, Boohoo's, they're all taking inspiration from streetwear and from what the designers are putting out in their designer collections. So if you see that beautiful Oscar de la Renta, white blouse and you can't afford it, that's fine. You'll probably be able to find a group of it somewhere. But, you'll be able to cultivate your own look, just even looking and just going on the site and just studying it. And then just spending time, outside. Watch people watch. See, oh my God, I really like how she styled this brown leather jacket with these green pants. I love to just sit and watch in New York. People are so fly here. And I will always see outfits that I'm like, yo, I never would have thought to put that together. And then I go home, now I'm looking in my closet and I'm like, okay, do I have this? Okay, do I have this? You're chefing it up. I say it's just like cooking, right? You try new meals, you try new dishes from different countries, and then you just start putting your own flavor on it when you get back in the house.
I love it. And I know that there's tiers to shopping. So if you had to think about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 being like the most expensive, what are some tier 1, 2, and 3 places that you go to? A Zara or a Target or a Fashion Nova? What is your tier 1?
Yeah, for me, I would say my tier 1s are the thrift shop, secondhand vintage. So that's everything from Salvation Army, Goodwill. I love Goodwill. I've partnered with Goodwill for a few years now, and I think that they're so great. I have found a lot of name brand things for just dollars, things that have never been worn there. And, what I always tell people is like, take it to the dry cleaners, wash it after you get it, and then that's it. Stop thinking about all the other stuff, but also obviously practice your eye. Don't take stuff that has stains in it, tears, weird stuff like that. So that would be my tier 1. It's like secondhand vintage shopping. Tier 2 would be like my fast fashion places. So for me, I like to go to like Misguided, and Nasty Gal is another one that I have recently rediscovered. I am plus size, and so I always am looking at who is going to be inclusive with their sizing. And inclusive to me is not that you just have a size 14 garment. It's that you've styled the size 14 model the same way you've styled the size 4 model. I also love ASOS. I love ASOS a lot. And then, Target is amazing. Target is a really great brand, I would say, also to look at, especially if you want to start dabbling in designer things, but you're not ready yet. And I say that because every year, Target does designer collaborations. And so like they did one last year with Christopher John Rogers that everyone was talking about. They did one with Victor Glamad, who is another Black designer, just earlier last year. So like you can dabble in these things and they're affordable and they're accessible. But they're also really chic and they're really well made. And then tier 3 would definitely be, if you start stepping into it, you have your Zara, but if not, you're starting to step into your places. Like I love Nordstrom, Net-a-Porter. I always kind of shop secondhand for like designer jewelry. So Vestiaire Collective, The Real. I know it's a lot of brands. I love the shop, girl.
I'm gonna replay this back and write them all down.
But yeah, and I would definitely say, even when you do end up shopping designer, if you ever choose to, just feel free to explore the secondhand, the pre-loved market. The pre-loved market is booming right now. People are purging their closets, and a lot of things have never been worn, and you can get them at a fraction of the price. And I love them.
That's the website name, Pre-Love?
No, this is like the pre-loved market. So like the market that explains like people have owned this product before, but now they're breeding it. It's like vintage, secondhand. Yeah. But yeah, like Vestiaire Collective, The Real, Fashion File. Those are sort of my 3 favorite websites to go to for like redesign purchases.
Wow, you do this, okay? Because you are here rallying this stuff.
He was like, "So where do you want to talk?" I was like, "Girl, I can tell you all the places." But I am not a respecter of persons. If I like it, I like it. I really think over the next year, I really want to dabble more into Etsy again, and also Facebook's marketplace, which I've heard people have really great reviews on. At the end of the day, I want to make sure I'm being as sustainable as I can and being really intentional, not just with how we're sourcing our own products, but like the people who are sourcing it, right? Making sure that the labor laws and that they're being respected and paid a livable wage. And so that is just something front of mind for me for the new year that I'm really excited to keep diving into.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sustainability is important because sis, we don't want you spending your last on clothes and things that you don't need. As Jame said, she recycled the same dress and she was in the fashion industry of New York. So if she can do it, being a beauty influencer and blogger, then we can be sustainable too. And I'm just curious to know, so when someone walks in the room, how important is the look or what they have on? What does that say about a person? Walk us through that.
I would say the look is so important, but the energy is more. And I say that because you can walk in any place with a hoodie on and some sweats and maybe some J's on your feet. But if you just have that energy with you that nobody can take their eyes off you, everybody's like, yo, who's this person? Who's this person? That to me is more important because see, this is what I think, Christian. A lot of people try to hide behind their labels. A lot of people try to get dressed up and they look cute, but they're ugly inside. So now you have this fire fit. You got the fire fit on, but you over in the corner, you got an attitude. Nobody want to talk to you. You don't want to talk to nobody. You looking at your plus one, like, when you go home. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants that. So what I would say is focus on the fit. When you put clothes on, and I think you step outside, put on what makes you feel most like you. Whatever that means for you, right? For some people, that means more of a casual, approachable. Maybe that means for you stunt, whatever that looks like. But also make sure your energy and your spirit is aligned so that when you step in, people have it. That's one thing I always tell them. I always, whenever I go to events, I always pray and say, God, allow me to attract the energy that I'm going to put out. And I always go in there with a smile on my face and good energy. And if I ever feel like the vibes are off, I'm out. And that's just how we have to start approaching it. We need to protect our energy the same way we protect everything else in our lives. Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your significant other, the same way you would roll up on somebody else if they was disrespecting, them. You need to spiritually feel the same way about protecting your energy as well when people try to disrespect you. So that's what I would say. Your fit is fire. Fit means a lot, but your energy has to match it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that because whether you're wearing something from the thrift store or you're wearing Gucci, Fendi, Louis, all of that, like you said, it's about the inside. And for someone that may be attached to those labels and find themselves depending on that, like what can you say to begin to free them? I don't think it's going to just happen overnight.
Yeah.
But how would you want to encourage them to, be able to walk into a room absent of things and materialistic possessions?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, this is a hard one. I think especially in today's time when every time you cut on music, some rapper talking about some designer that they got on. Like, and don't get me wrong, I don't mind that. I love the music, right? But it starts to sell this really unrealistic standard that people feel like, oh, I'm 23, I should be popping bottles and be on a yacht and, have Gucci everything. And no one's talking about, but like, what, mentally, are you okay? Spiritually, are you good? Emotionally, are you stable? No one's talking about that in the music. What I would say is, I know this sounds so morbid, but when we die, we go back the same way we came. We entered in this world with nothing. We leave this world with nothing. I like to look at this a lot when I think about our gifts. Don't leave this world still never having released the gifts that God gave you because you were waiting on a perfect moment or a perfect opportunity that never came. But for the material, it's like when you are gone, everything that you have, it will not matter anymore. What will matter though are the memories that you've made. It's the people you've met. It's the relationships you've formulated. So spend time focusing on those things. These other things, they don't make me. And like, you have to really sit that. And I think what that goes back to something I said earlier about you sometimes just need to spend time with yourself. A lot of people, they don't want to spend time with themselves. They start skinning their own thoughts and then they pull out the phone. They're on the gram. They hitting up that toxic ex that they're not supposed to be talking to. Like a lot of people don't know how to just sit still and just be with themselves. And I do think that you have to do that because you start realizing none of this matters. None of this matters. I could thrift for the rest of my life and I'm still be a baddie. I can do whatever these things. I'm still going to be me. None of this stuff makes me. And if it does, or if you feel like this stuff is part of you or shifts you, now you need to have a conversation with yourself and figure out, well, what is it in your life that you feel is lacking that you're now adding these designer labels or this idea that you need to stunt and show people that you're validated. They don't validate you. And if you chase that validation, if you chase that validation, you will chase your whole life. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. It's one of those things. So don't chase it. Don't chase it.
And it's so funny because you mentioned how you have these reflections when you are not around the people and have all these materials on. And that's what happened during COVID. I just woke up one day and said, I have just too much stuff. I have too much clutter. And I got rid of a lot of clothes. I got rid of a lot of things. And have you ever had a moment like that where you're like, okay, it's time to just declutter? We talked about how to get it, but what does it mean when you give it away and you just kind of shift things around in your environment?
I was so sick of myself. I was looking at myself. I'm like, why do you have this? Like, what is this? I mean, look, a lot of us, we also gain weight during the pandemic. So a lot of these cute little things I have bought, guess what? I can't even fit them. So I'm like, so you done gone out, you done spent all this money, and now you have this item that you can't return, and now you can't wear it. And it just kind of really made me recenter to your point. What matters? What is important? It doesn't matter. You don't need to keep shopping. Because at first, in the pandemic, people were still shopping and we're still optimistic. And then at some point, I think people just started to realize, okay, look, I don't need to keep buying all these clothes that I'm not going to wear for the foreseeable future until I know I can wear them. So for me, I like to go through, I take somewhat of a Marie Kondo approach, but not that much because I get stressed out. But I will go into my closet and I'm like, can you fit it anymore? Does this fit your vibe? Does this fit your brand story? That's one thing a lot of brand owners and entrepreneurs don't think about. Your outfit should tell a story that is complementary to the story that you are also telling people. So for instance, if I'm telling you the Blonde Misfit is an empowering place, we're bright, we're colorful, we're approachable, but we're aspirational. When I get dressed, that should represent everything I just said. If it doesn't, it's like, it's almost like, you know, selling a different example. It's almost like selling, telling people that you're a Lambo, but you doing a Honda commercial. And I'm not throwing no shade to Hondas, y'all. I love Hondas.
Yeah, because I got a Honda, girl. I got a Honda.
I love Hondas. Look, I love Hondas. Grew up with them. I'm like, this is the car. I love it. Honda's a beat. That she's that girl. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not a Lambo.
But you know what I mean? Like, right. There's a different experience that you want to sell. So you always want to make sure your brand missioning and your everything just works together. And then obviously just going and saying, like, you know, does this make me happy? Do I enjoy this anymore? When I wear this, do I feel like the best part of myself? Now, obviously not every piece of garment is going to make you feel that way. Like, you know, if I throw on a white tee, I don't feel like Superwoman Michelle Obama, but you know, for other things, if I have this one coat that just brings me immense joy and I get compliments and I feel good every time I wear it, sure, that might be something that I would want to keep. So it's not going through. And I would also say, don't do like that once a year deep purge, because you will overwhelm yourself. Once a quarter, take out one Saturday and just go through and just start figuring out what doesn't fit, what needs to be adjusted, what can you take to the tailor for alterations, what do you want to give away? And it feels a little bit better, because I have been in those positions before when I've tried to do it all at one time, and then you just get frustrated and you shut down, and then you just got clothes everywhere.
Yeah. And you're just super overwhelmed, and the clothes are there when you wake up. I love the compliment piece, because you have to feel good in it. You have to compliment yourself. And then I love how when I get a compliment, so if you're listening, if you see someone, you like their earrings, you like their hair, you like their clothes, compliment them. It does nothing to give someone a compliment. They're putting on their best, not for likes or for compliments, but it's about the emotional connection.
Absolutely. Like, okay. Absolutely. Compliments are free, but they're so empowering. And you never know how your simple acknowledgement of someone else has the power to change their day. You know, I have seen some really tear-jerking stories of people who have said, you know, I felt suicidal, and then you showed up on my feed, or you just showed love on this thing, and I thought nobody was out here, and I was just ready to give up. You never know where people are at in their life. And so show love as much as you can, because it always will come back to you. You know, it's funny, because I always said, you know, in order for me to attract better friendships, I had to first become a better friend. In the same way, if you want people to show up for you, if you want to build your tribe of risers or misfits, you have to show up for others. Yes. That's the first thing. That's why they say the best leaders are servants first. You have to show up. So showing up for people and giving them those compliments, as little as it may look to you, can mean everything to them.
You know, and I just want to charge those who are listening and watching. I challenge you this week. I challenge you to go and give someone a compliment. Compliment someone that you don't know or that you do know, and just make them feel good inside. And so, wow, Jame, this has been great. I do have one more question before we have to end.
Absolutely.
And I think, I think it's going to free a lot of people and give them some inspiration. So we are in 2022, and I'm curious to know, what do you feel like some of the trends are? Maybe it's even your own personal trends. What is 22? What's the vibes 2022 is giving?
Ooh, girl, 2022 still giving 2020 energy. Sometimes we'd be like,
we're behind, 2 years behind.
Right. We're in round 3 or something. You know, what I'll say is 2022, I think, is a great year to just continue to be reflective of what it is you want in life and to go after it unapologetically, unequivocally. We are seeing this everywhere, whether it's the Great Resignation and people leaving their jobs for new opportunities. We're seeing it with people who are starting Snapchats and TikToks and Instagrams. And, I think a wonderful story of this is, I'm not sure if you follow her on Instagram, but her hashtag is Ellie Talks Money. She's a mom of four who got divorced. She's young. She's maybe 27, 28. And in 2020, took her stimulus check and invested in like Canva Pro and a ring light, and is now a multi-millionaire from creating content on Instagram. Yeah, she created content on Instagram that started to pick up traction, go viral. And she constantly tells this to people that like, it only takes a minute to change your life. And I always think about that because it's never too late to start. So your dream that you had in 2021 that for whatever reason did not come to fruition, maybe that wasn't the year. There are some years you plant seeds. There are some years you water. There are some years you reap. Yeah. And 2022 might be the year you plant that seed, but you won't know until you plant it. I'll also say showing up transparently and authentically is going to just continue to reign supreme in any of your content, right? Even in fashion and beauty, we're really pulling back the layers of pay equity and racial representation. We're talking about all of these companies that posted the black squares, in the midst of the George Floyd protests, but still do not have black leadership in their C-suite. We are still talking about these topics that resonate. And each one of us, whether you're Christian, whether you're me, whether you're someone else, we all have the power to use our voice for change. And so make 2022 the year that you speak up. You advocate for yourself, you show up, and whatever it is that you are going for, whatever you feel your purpose is, work a little bit each day towards it. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to hit the big milestones just yet, but get yourself in that process of conditioning. If you're an athlete, you don't start practicing when you go to the Super Bowl. You practice all year. And you're working your way up to build your body up. You have to train it. You have to train your faith like a muscle. You have to train your anxiety like a muscle. You have to train your gratitude like a muscle. People think because people think you just like, thank you, God, all the time. I'll be like, yo, Jesus, what's going on today?
Why did you just do that?
I'm like, it would have been so much simpler if we had just done X, Y, and Z. But these are all muscles that you have to train. And what happens is sometimes people start seeing your end result, but they don't know how much you've been in the gym working to get there. So each person who's listening, you have to just start putting it into practice, put it into motion. You'll get better. You'll bench press more. You'll lift more weights. You'll get the toning, but you have to start with where you're at.
Oh my gosh. That 2-minute segment, I literally just wrote down like 5 bullet points. Never too late to start. Speak up.
Right. Like, look.
Do the work. Oh my goodness.
Man.
Oh my goodness. This was so lovely. How can my risers find you? What's your social handles?
Yes. So I would love to stay connected with you guys. Obviously, check out the blog, The Blonde Misfit. We also have a podcast under the same name. It's where all of your podcasts are streamed. Just type in The Blonde Misfit Podcast and I'll pop up. I am at The Blonde Misfit on Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest. And then Jame Jackson on LinkedIn, where I create a lot of content over there as well. So I would love for you guys to join the Misfit family and let's just continue to rise together.
Yes, come on, that pitch. Okay, take notes. If y'all are watching, if you are an entrepreneur, go get her. If you cannot do what Jame just did, she just did it flawlessly. So that's another nugget. Have your elevator pitch and be ready to share with others how they can find you. But thank you so much for rising with me. This has been a blessing. You have shared so much from beauty and confidence, and I know that this will bless everyone. So to those who are watching, to those who are listening, may you all be encouraged and continue to rise because the world needs you. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was great, Jame. Thank you.
Yay! It was so fun.
The enemy was busy because this Wi-Fi kept going in and out. But
really? I didn't even notice it.
Yeah,
See?
on my end, and
Really?
so that's good, but the
That is.
audio was flawless, so even if we have to just take segments of that, we're
Mhm.
gonna be fine, but thank you so much. I know we're over 6 o'clock, but
Girl,
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And thank you so much for having this. I know that the world sometimes thinks that when you put God first, that you are
Mm,
missing out. And so
yeah,
I am just so thankful that you are showing people every day that you can put God first and you still just as
wow,
fly as everybody else. You
wow,
still hold weight. And
wow,
so just continue to continue to do the work, and whatever I can do to help,
wow,
please lean on me. You are part of the tribe.
wow.
I am always here to
Thank
help.
you. Wow, I appreciate that. Is there anything that you have coming up that I can share or support?
Goodness.
Okay.
Sorry, like I don't know what that motorcycle sound.
No worries.
Not at the moment. What I will say
Okay.
is I am working on video strategy right now so that I can relaunch my YouTube next month after I get into my new apartment.
Okay.
So
Yes.
depending on when the episode airs, I can always, have Jess send over like some snippets of like, oh, this is what's coming up, which you may, just in case you want to add it to the show notes. But if not, totally
Yeah.
fine, girl.
Okay. Okay. I will do that. And blessings as you start this back up. We can hold each other accountable in that journey.
Please, please, because I'm like, look,
Awesome.
I can't do a relaunch again.
The launch to the relaunch to the relaunch.
Yes, yes.
It
But okay,
happens. Well,
I'm I'm
this
gonna
is
let you
great.
go. We'll talk
Okay.
soon. Have a blessed night, and thank you.
Alrighty. Have
All
a
right,
good one. Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rising with Christian podcast. There is someone you know who could be blessed by this episode, so share it with a friend, be a blessing, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, have a wonderful week, and don't forget to rise today because your future is now.